What if I told you that the first Christian nation in history claims descent from a guy mentioned once in Genesis? Meet Togarmah, son of Gomer, grandson of Japheth, the biblical ancestor of Armenia. While Rome was still feeding Christians to lions, Armenia was declaring Christianity its state religion. These people have maintained their identity through 3,000 years of conquest, genocide, and dispersion, all while claiming, "We are the house of Togarmah." That's not just survival, that's a miracle with a biblical zip code. Genesis 10:3 in the Berean Standard Bible mentions the sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz, Riphath, and Togarmah. Ezekiel 27:14 adds, "The men of Beth Togarmah exchanged horses, war horses, and mules for your wares." Ezekiel 38:6 places Beth Togarmah from the far north in end times prophecy. That's it for biblical mentions, but Armenians have built their entire national identity on being Beth Togarmah, the house of Togarmah. Armenian tradition is absolutely certain about this connection. They call themselves Torgom's descendants, and their land Torgom's house. Medieval Armenian historians traced detailed genealogies from Togarmah, called Torgom in Armenian, to their royal houses. Jewish sources also identify Togarmah with the Armenians. The Georgians, their neighbors, make similar claims. This isn't recent invention. It's ancient tradition going back millennia. The location fits perfectly. Armenia sits in the far north. From Israel's perspective, exactly where Ezekiel places Beth Togarmah. The region was famous for horses. Armenian horses were the ancient equivalent of Arabian thoroughbreds. Archaeological evidence shows sophisticated horse breeding in ancient Armenia. The area around Mount Ararat, where Noah's Ark landed, has been Armenian heartland throughout history. They literally live where humanity restarted. Here's what's incredible. Armenia became the first official Christian nation in 301 AD, 12 years before Rome's Constantine legalized Christianity. King Tiridates III and Saint Gregory the Illuminator converted the entire nation. Think about that. While Rome was executing Christians, Armenia was building churches. While Constantine was debating conversion, Armenia had already been Christian for over a decade. Togarmah's descendants led the world in embracing Christ. The Armenian Genocide of 1915 to 1923 specifically targeted them because of their Christianity. The Ottoman Empire killed 1.5 million Armenians, the first modern genocide. Hitler literally said, "Who remembers the Armenians?" when planning the Holocaust. But here's the miracle. Armenia survived. Togarmah's house stood. Today, Armenia exists as a nation, maintaining Christianity while surrounded by Islamic nations. That's not luck. That's divine preservation. Archaeological discoveries in Armenia are mind-blowing. They've found the world's oldest winemaking facility, 6,000 years old, the world's oldest leather shoe, and evidence of advanced metallurgy from the Bronze Age. The Armenian highland shows continuous occupation for over 5,000 years. These people didn't just claim ancient heritage, they can prove it. Every shovel of dirt confirms they've been there since the beginning. The Armenian alphabet, created in 405 AD specifically to translate the Bible, is considered one of the most perfect alphabetic systems ever devised. Mesrop Mashtots created 36 letters that perfectly captured Armenian sounds. The first sentence translated was Proverbs 1-2, to know wisdom and instruction. Within decades, Armenians had translated not just the Bible, but vast libraries of Christian and classical texts. Togarmah's descendants became preservers of knowledge. Armenian Christianity maintained unique traditions that might go back to apostolic times. They claim apostles Thaddeus and Bartholomew evangelized Armenia. Their liturgy preserves ancient elements lost elsewhere. Their church architecture, with distinctive conical domes, influenced both Byzantine and Islamic architecture. When you see those pointed domes on churches and mosques, you're seeing Togarmah's architectural legacy. The Armenian diaspora, scattered by conquest and genocide, mirrors the Jewish experience. There are more Armenians outside Armenia than inside, about 11 million worldwide versus 3 million in Armenia. They've maintained identity, language, and faith across continents. Los Angeles has more Armenians than any city except Yerevan. They're called the merchants of the Middle East for their business acumen. Like Jews, they've thrived in exile while maintaining connection to their homeland. Modern DNA studies confirm Armenian genetic distinctiveness. They show remarkable continuity with ancient populations, minimal admixture despite centuries of conquest, and connections to other Caucasus peoples. They're genetically closest to ancient samples from the Armenian highland. Science confirms what tradition claimed. These are the same people who've been there since Togarmah. Mount Ararat, though now in Turkey, remains Armenia's national symbol. It's on their coat of arms, their money, their art. Every Armenian grows up seeing the mountain where Noah landed, where humanity restarted, where their ancestor Togarmah began his journey. They don't just claim biblical heritage, they live in biblical geography. Their whole country is a biblical landmark. So what's your takeaway? First, God preserves peoples for purposes we don't understand. Armenia maintained Christianity through impossibly difficult circumstances. Second, being first matters. Armenia's early adoption of Christianity shaped their entire identity. Third, biblical identity transcends genetics. Armenians include many who joined them throughout history but all claim Togarmah. Your application. What's your Togarmah moment? That defining decision that will shape your family's identity for generations. Armenia's conversion in 301 AD still defines them 1,700 years later. Your choice to follow Christ, to stand for truth, to maintain faith through persecution. These create legacy. You might be mentioned only once like Togarmah, but that one mention can launch a 1,000-year testimony. Build your house on biblical foundation and watch it survive everything history throws at it. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching.